We're going to continue with factoring. What we're going to be doing is factoring trinomials. Remember, trinomials means three terms. We're going to use the X method as a graphic organizer to help us understand how to factor. We're going to take our constant value, which is C, and we're going to put it on the top of the X. We're going to take our linear term, which is the coefficient in front of the X, and that would be our B. And what we're doing is we're looking for two numbers that multiply together and give us C. And what they do is they add up to B. So just as an example, if we have x squared plus 5x plus 6, we're looking for two numbers that multiply together give us 6, and they add up to 5. So two numbers that multiply together give us 6, add up to 5 would be 2 and 3. So 2 times 3 gives us 6. 2 plus 3 gives us 5. So when we factor this, we get x plus 2 and x plus 3. Now, just to show us how the factoring ends up giving us our answer, remember how we did FOIL? First terms, outside terms, inside terms, and last terms. We see that we can add the two middle, and that gives us x squared plus 5x plus 6, which gives us our original problem. So factoring and foiling are basically complements of each other. Factoring breaks it down into binomials. Foiling takes binomials and turns it into a trinomial. So you can see the relationship of the two. So what we're going to do is we're going to be factoring these. And for the first one, what we have is x squared plus 4x plus 3. So what I'm going to do, there we go. It just froze for a second. So we're going to look for two numbers that multiply together, give us 3, add up to 4. And two numbers that multiply together, give us 3, add up to 4 would be 3 and 1. So that would be x plus 3 and x plus 1. Now, some might have put 1 and 3. So you would put x plus 1 and then x plus 3. Technically, this is the same thing. It would be the same as multiplying 3 times 4, which of course is 12, or 4 times 3, which of course is 12. So you pick whichever method or whichever number you want to go first. It doesn't matter. Either of those is correct. So for the next one, we're looking for two numbers that multiply together, give us 8, and add up to 9. And so that would be 8 and 1. So x plus 8 and x plus 1 would be our answer. Once again, you could put x plus 1 and x plus 8. So letter C, once again, what we're doing is we're looking for two numbers that when we multiply them together give us a 12, and they add up to 7. So two numbers that multiply together give us 12, add up to 7 would be 4 and 3. So what we would have is x plus 4 and x plus 3. Now for the next one, we're looking for two numbers that multiply together give us negative 12, but add up to negative 1. So in this case, it's a little bit more difficult. All the other ones were all positive, so it made it really easy. Here, what we have to do is one has to be negative and one has to be positive. Now notice that when we add them up, we have a negative. So that means the negative has to be the larger number. So it's going to be negative 4 and 3, because negative 4 times 3 gives us negative 12, and negative 4 plus 3 gives us negative 1. So our answer is going to be x minus 4 and x plus 3. Pause the video and try to do those next two on your own. So if we look at letter E, two numbers that multiply together give us negative 6, add up to negative 5 would be negative 6 and positive 1. So that would be x minus 6 and x plus 1. For the next one, what we have is two numbers that multiply together give us -6, but add up to -1. So that would be -3 and +2. So what we have is x minus 3 and x plus 2. Now, for our next ones, what's happening is that we're first going to find a GCF, and then what we're going to do is we're going to use the x method to factor it. So if we're looking at each one of these, what we notice is that each of the terms have something in common. In this case, it has a 2 in common. So we're going to factor out a 2, and that gives us x squared plus x minus 6. Then we're going to factor it using the x method. So two numbers that multiply together give us -6, add up to a +1. So that means that of the two numbers, the larger one has to be positive. So it'd be +3, -2. Now remember, we need to keep the 2 on the outside. That doesn't disappear. And then we have x plus 3 and x minus 2. For the next one, we're looking for two numbers that we're going to first factor out a 3. And we have x squared minus 3x minus 10. So we're going to look for two numbers that multiply together, give us -10, add up to -3. The larger one has to be the -1. So it's going to be -5 and +2. Remember to bring down the 3. And we have x minus 5 and x plus 2. For letter C, when we're looking at this, we see that all of them have a 4 in common. So we're going to factor out a 4, and we have x squared plus 5x plus 4. We're going to look for two numbers that multiply together and give us 4, but they add up to 5. And that would be 1 and 4. Once again, we keep the 4 in the front, and we have x plus 1 and x plus 4. Now, for letter D, notice that they don't have a number in common, but all of them have an x. So we're going to factor out an x, and that gives us x squared minus x minus 30. So we're going to look for two numbers that multiply together, give us -30, add up to -1. Larger one has to be larger one has to be negative. So that would be -6 and +5. So we have the x in the front, and we have x minus 6 and x plus 5. So pause the video and try those next two on your own. So for letter E, we see that they have an n in common. So we factor out an n, and that gives us n squared plus 7n plus 10. We're going to look for two numbers that multiply together, give us 10, add up to 7, and that would be 2 and 5. So that means that we keep the n in the front, and we have n plus 2 and n plus 5. And for our last one, we notice that they have a 2 in common, but they also have an x in common. So we factor out a 2x, and what's left over is x squared minus 2x minus 24. So we're looking for two numbers that multiply together, give us -24, but they add up to -2. So that would be -6 and 4. So we keep the 2x in the front. We have x minus 6. We have x plus 4.